Every time you keep a promise to yourself, you're rewriting the story that says you can't be trusted. And that's how you start believing in yourself again. Not by talking yourself into it, but by living in a way that proves it.
You've tried to quit before. Maybe it worked for a while. Maybe it didn't. But deep down, you know sobriety isn't just about not drinking. It's about finding peace, purpose, and finding yourself again. Welcome to the Sober and Happy Podcast. Each week, Tim shares hard-earned lessons from his own decade of recovery, real talk, real methods, and the mindset that helped him turn the fight of sobriety into a life he actually loves. This is the Sober and Happy Podcast. Now, here's your host, Tim Phillips.
Welcome back, Sober and Happy family. It is great to be here with you. You know, one of the hardest parts about getting sober isn't just putting the bottle down. It's learning how to believe in yourself again. In the beginning, it's easy to think the goal is to earn back everybody else's trust. Your families, your friends, your coworkers. And yeah, that's part of it. But the hardest person to earn trust from is usually the one in the mirror. Because when you spent years breaking promises to yourself, saying things like, tomorrow will be different, or this time I'll stop, or I've got this under control, it takes a while to start believing your own word again. And here's the thing, you don't have to relapse to break that trust. It could happen in tiny, quiet ways. Like telling yourself you'll start that morning routine and hitting the snooze 6 times. Or saying you'll take better care of yourself and then running yourself into exhaustion every day. Or promising you'll be honest about how you feel and smiling and saying, I'm fine when someone asks. Those little betrayals don't seem like much, but when they stack up, they start to shape how you see yourself. I saw this in a big way early in my recovery. When I was in rehab, I decided I was going to do everything right. Going to eat healthy, work out, lose weight, and get in shape. And I went all in. There was a small gym on site, so I was there every morning without fail. Now, eating healthy was a little more of a challenge since most of the people there needed to gain weight, not lose it. But I still found a way. I ate hard-boiled eggs every morning for breakfast and hit the salad bar for both lunch and dinner. I was there for 2 months and only broke that routine once during their annual summer barbecue. But it worked. By the time I left, I was in the best shape of my life and I felt amazing, not just physically, but about myself. When I got out, I kept it up for a while. But then life started getting busier. I was going to a lot of meetings, I found a job, so my morning workouts had to start even earlier and missing a day here and there didn't seem like a big deal. Then I started skipping packing lunches. I justified grabbing fast food because I was too busy. At first, I told myself it was fine because I was still finding ways to make healthy choices. But those didn't last long either, because let's be honest, fast food salads are pretty horrible. Before I knew it, I was ordering a number 5, supersized, with the Diet Coke, of course, because, I'm on a diet. And slowly, those little compromises started stacking up. One by one, I broke the promises I made to myself. And when enough of them piled up, it's easy to tell myself, see, this is just what you do. You can't stay committed. You always quit. Eventually, I gave up. That experience taught me something I didn't understand at the time. It wasn't about fitness. It was about self-trust. I had set one giant all-or-nothing goal, and when I slipped in one area, I convinced myself the whole thing was a failure. And honestly, I've done that pattern more than once. Even in more recent years, I've joined weight loss challenges and crushed them. I stay consistent, I do the work, and I hit my numbers. But when the challenge ends, I lose motivation because I wasn't really committed to myself. I was committed to the challenge. I was motivated by what other people might think, not by what I thought of me. And that's the real trap of self-trust. When you base it on external motivation, like things like approval, validation, or comparison, it never lasts. Early in sobriety, we spend so much energy trying to get everyone else to believe in us again. We want to prove that we've changed. We want people to stop waiting for us to screw up. And it makes sense. We hurt a lot of people. We disappointed a lot of people. So of course, we want to make it right. But what I learned the hard way is this. You can't earn anyone else's trust until you learn to trust yourself again. Because if you don't trust your own word, your actions start coming from fear instead of authenticity. You show up for other people not because it's who you are, but because you're scared they'll stop believing in you. And when your motivation is fear, you'll always burn out. You'll end up back in that cycle where you're doing everything for everyone else, but nothing for you. And that's when resentment, exhaustion, and thoughts of relapse start creeping back in. So rebuilding self-trust isn't selfish, it's foundational. It's what makes everything else possible. Most of us don't break self-trust because we're weak. We break it because deep down, we forget that we're worth showing up for. When you've spent years disappointing yourself, it becomes familiar. You stop expecting more from yourself because that's easier than facing the pain of disappointing yourself again. Even after getting sober, that habit doesn't just vanish. You start keeping promises to everyone else, your boss, your friends, your kids, but when it comes to you, you slide right back into neglect. It's like being your own best friend and constantly ghosting yourself. And I get it, because when you've lived in survival mode for so long, consistency feels like a luxury. In active addiction, you don't keep promises, you keep yourself alive. That's the only goal. So when sobriety comes and there's finally space to breathe, part of you doesn't know what to do with that space. You spent years reacting. Now it's time to respond. But the transition from surviving to living takes practice. That's why rebuilding self-trust isn't about willpower. It's about patience and grace. You don't rebuild trust by doing things perfectly. You rebuild it by doing small things consistently. Pick one promise you could actually keep today. Not 5, not 10, just one. Maybe it's journaling for 5 minutes. Maybe it's going for a walk. Maybe it's checking in with one person every morning. The promise itself doesn't matter. The follow-through does. Because here's what happens. Every time you do what you said you'd do, you teach your brain something new. You're building evidence that says, hey, we could count on us now. And little by little, that trust builds. It's not instant and it's not flashy, but one day you'll look back and realize that inner voice that used to doubt you, it's gotten a lot quieter. Even years into sobriety, I still catch myself breaking small pieces of trust without realizing it. It's not always about skipping routines or breaking habits. Sometimes it's emotional, like saying yes when I mean no, overcommitting because I don't want to disappoint anyone, telling myself that I'll rest after I finish just one more thing. And those are small betrayals too, because every time I do that, I send myself the message that my needs don't matter. And that is a hard lie to unlearn. The moment you start honoring your limits and telling the truth, even if it means saying no, that's when self-trust starts to deepen. It's not just about discipline, it's about alignment. But habits alone aren't enough. The deeper level of self-trust is about emotional honesty. It's trusting yourself enough to say, I'm not okay right now, or I need help, or even, I don't know what I'm doing, but I'm trying. When you stop pretending and start telling the truth to yourself first, something shifts. You realize that you've got your own back now. You're not abandoning yourself anymore when life gets uncomfortable, because that's what self-trust really is. It's not about keeping promises. It's about staying on your side no matter what. I want you to take a second right now and think about the last time you broke a promise to yourself. Not to beat yourself up, just to notice how it felt. That little sting in your gut right there, that's not shame. That's awareness. That's the part of you that cares. Now think about a time that you did follow through, even on something small. Maybe you went for that walk. Maybe you spoke up for yourself. Maybe you didn't quit when it got hard. Now, how did that feel? That's the feeling you're rebuilding towards. That quiet peace of knowing that I could count on me. And when that becomes your new normal, life gets a lot lighter. You don't walk around waiting for the next shoe to drop anymore because you trust that whatever comes, you'll handle it. That's the real gift of sobriety. It's not about removing alcohol. It's about building a life that feels stable enough that you don't need to escape it anymore. So here's my challenge for you this week. Pick one small promise and keep it to yourself. Something simple and real. Don't aim for perfect, just aim for honest. Because every time you keep a promise to yourself, you're rewriting the story that says you can't be trusted. And that's how you start believing in yourself again. Not by talking yourself into it, but by living in a way that proves it. You know, rebuilding trust with yourself isn't about becoming someone new. It's about remembering who you've always been underneath the shame, the lies, and all the noise. You've already been that person before. You just stopped believing it for a while. And if you keep showing up, one small, honest step at a time, you'll find your way back. Until next time, my friends, thank you so much for listening and keep living sober and happy.
Thanks for listening to the Sober and Happy podcast with Tim Phillips. If today's episode connected with you, share it with someone who needs it. You can follow Tim on social at I Am Sober and Happy and visit soberandhappy.com for tools, motivation, and more episodes. Remember, quitting drinking is just the beginning. The real goal is learning to love yourself and love your life. This has been the Sober and Happy podcast. See you next time.